Tight, yeah! Blue, yellow, pink! Whatever, man, just keep bringing me that.
Did you know that over 90% of the world's cutting-edge chips come from just one region? Why are these tiny tech parts suddenly at the center of global tension? Let's unpack what the chip wars are really about, and why they matter more than ever. For years, chip making followed a clear pattern. Western countries like the United States focused on designing the chips, while manufacturing was mainly done in Asia, especially in places like Taiwan and South Korea. This setup worked well for a while, but things didn't stay the same. Back in the 1990s, the US produced about 40% of the world's chips. Fast forward to today, and that number has dropped to around 10%. That's a huge decline. And when something as small as a chip powers everything from smartphones to fighter jets, relying heavily on other countries suddenly seems risky. That's why the US and some of its allies are now pushing hard to bring chip making back within their borders. Chips are everywhere. They run our phones, smart cars, TVs, airplanes, and even the most advanced military systems. Without chips, so much of modern life simply wouldn't function. But here's where it gets even more serious. Not all chips are the same. Some are simple and cheap, made for things like kitchen appliances. Others are highly advanced and used for artificial intelligence, data centers, and national defense. The global fight isn't really about the simple chips, it's about the powerful ones. And the big question now is who controls these top-tier chips? That's what's really driving the chip wars. So who's actually involved in all this? Quite a few major players. Starting with the United States, it's home to some of the world's top chip designers like Intel, NVIDIA, and Qualcomm. These companies lead when it comes to designing powerful and complex chips. But here's the catch. Most of these designs are sent overseas to be manufactured. The US relies heavily on Taiwan's TSMC and South Korea's Samsung to actually make the chips. To fix this, the US passed something called the CHIPS and Science Act, which puts billions of dollars into building factories and boosting chip making at home. The goal? Reduce dependence on other countries and strengthen national security. Now let's talk about China. China doesn't want to rely on the US or anyone else for chips, so it's investing huge amounts of money to build up its own chip industry and close the gap. It's also making moves to protect itself, like banning certain American companies, including Micron, from selling chips in China. For the Chinese government, making chips at home isn't just about business. It's a matter of national security and tech independence. Then there's Taiwan and South Korea, the true heavyweights in chip manufacturing.
TSMC in Taiwan and Samsung in South Korea produce nearly all of the world's most advanced chips. These two companies are absolutely essential to the global supply chain. If something were to happen to either of them, the effects would be felt worldwide. But their position isn't easy. They're caught between two powerful forces, the US and China. And staying neutral is getting harder. The European Union is also stepping up. It wants to become more self-reliant by building up its own chip-making abilities. And it's not just Europe. Countries like India and Vietnam are starting to attract attention as possible future hubs for manufacturing. Everyone sees the value in chips now, and no one wants to be left behind. It's clear this isn't just a one-on-one battle anymore. The chip wars are global. So what did the US just do with Intel? On August 22, 2025, the US government made a major move. It bought a 9.9% stake in Intel, one of the country's biggest chip companies, for $8.9 billion. The money came from leftover CHIPS Act funds and something called the Secure Enclave Program. This wasn't just a handout, it was a direct investment. That's a big step, and it naturally raises a key question. Why is the government buying into a private tech company? There are a few major reasons for this decision. First, it helps Intel build more chip factories in the US, which means less dependence on foreign manufacturing. Second, it's about national security. Chips are used in military systems, and controlling supply is critical. Third, instead of giving free money, the government took shares, tying public investment to Intel's future performance. It's a strategic play with long-term goals. What about Intel's leadership drama? Just before the deal, President Trump publicly criticized Intel's CEO, Lip Bhutan, calling him unfit and suggesting he should resign. But despite that, the investment still went through, with the same CEO in place. The timing raised eyebrows and showed how messy politics and business can get when they overlap. Public statements don't always match private decisions. How is the deal structured? The US government now holds close to 10% of Intel, making it one of the company's biggest shareholders. But here's the key part. It's a passive stake. That means the government won't be involved in Intel's day-to-day decisions or sit on its board of directors. Instead, it agreed to vote in line with Intel's existing leadership on most matters. This setup was likely designed to avoid concerns about too much government control while still providing strong financial backing. It gives Intel breathing room to make business decisions independently while still benefiting from public support. One interesting part of the deal is the warrant tied to it. The government received a 5-year option to buy an additional 5% of Intel shares, but that only kicks in under specific conditions. If Intel's foundry business ever drops below 51% ownership by the company, the government can buy more shares at $20 each, regardless of the current market price. This acts like a safety net for the government. It gives them more influence if Intel starts giving up too much control of a key part of its operations, especially one that's strategically important to national interests. Investors reacted positively when the deal was made public. Intel's stock price rose over 5% after the announcement, which shows the market saw this move as a vote of confidence. With billions in funding and a clear sign that the federal government is backing Intel's future, many believe the company is in a stronger position to compete globally. The structure of the deal balances independence for Intel with long-term strategic oversight from Washington, without turning it into a government-run operation. This kind of government investment could open the door for more public-private deals in the tech world. It also hints at a shift in the global supply chain. More production might move closer to home. Many believe the world is splitting into two chip ecosystems, one led by the US, the other by China. With pressure on Intel to catch up to companies like NVIDIA and TSMC, there's a lot riding on this. Chips aren't just products anymore. They're part of global strategy. What's the end game here? The chip wars are really about control. Who leads in AI, 5G, defense, and tech? The countries that dominate chips will shape the next generation of innovation. With moves like this Intel deal, it's clear nations are ready to spend big to stay ahead. But that brings up a tough question. Should governments be this involved in private companies? Or is it the only way to compete? Something worth thinking about. The fight for semiconductors isn't going away anytime soon. In fact, it's just heating up. With nations pouring money into chip making, forming alliances, and locking down supply chains, the tech world is entering a whole new era. And as these tiny chips get smaller and smarter, the battle over who controls them will only get bigger. So next time you pick up your phone, just remember, there's a global race happening inside it. And the winners of that race? They'll shape the future. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.